the beginning, there was no light, no form, no motion. Only an endless silence stretching beyond memory. Within its depths, something ancient stirred, as if the void itself attempted to recall a forgotten rhythm. The drifting mist trembled at the faintest vibration. It was not sound nor spark, but a subtle awakening. The moment when nothingness first questioned its own eternity. From the heart of silence rose a gentle impulse like the first heartbeat of existence. The mist responded with a quiet shiver, expanding in broad rings of light. Each wave grew stronger, as though an unseen force tested its rising strength. Space, still without shape, began feeling a rhythm. This pulse became a law, a signal awakening what had slept since the dawn before time. A single glowing line appeared within the chaos, as though drawn by a hand older than creation. Mist stretched toward it, gathering into a slow-moving current. The light accelerated, spiraling gently, guiding the formless void into motion. Thus direction emerged, a first distinction between here and there. Energy stopped wandering. For the first time, it chose a path, and the world began to follow. The surface of silence cracked like ancient ice beneath a giant step. Warm amber light poured through the fracture, illuminating the mist with a primordial glow. Jagged stones materialized from the void, carved as if by forgotten forces. The world sensed weight for the first time. The empty became solid. What once echoed with nothing now carried the first whispers of matter. The earliest bones of creation. Rivers of light converged into a single point, colliding, breaking apart, and reuniting in living patterns. They formed threads from which destiny itself could be woven. The mist brightened, infused with rising warmth. Stones flickered with golden reflections, as if tasting the heat of existence. The world remained barren, yet its core vibrated with intent. Energy was no longer present. It sought form powerful enough to contain it. Thousands of golden particles rose and froze midair, as though eternity commanded the cosmos to pause. No wind, no motion. Only suspended radiance woven into perfect silence. Each particle glowed with quiet purpose, holding a fragment of a vast, hidden truth. The stones beneath shimmered with heated reflections. The world stood on the edge of transformation, sensing the arrival of a force that would reshape everything yet to be born. The deep fissure widened, releasing a surge of brilliant, almost living light. It pierced the mist, lifting particles into trembling halos. The stones shifted aside, yielding to the rising power. For the first time, the world witnessed a source, a wellspring fueling its awakening. The light did more than illuminate. It imposed creation, engraving its strength onto everything it touched. A slender beam traced itself across the ground, stretching toward the unknown. It curved around stones as if remembering a route long forgotten. The mist softened in its presence, warmed by its steady motion. This path was neither guidance nor warning. It simply existed. The first corridor through chaos. A direction not for travelers, but for reality itself, learning where to expand. The mist split apart, forming towering walls of suspended golden particles. They hovered motionless, framing a corridor touched by faint shimmering light. These were not crafted gateways. They emerged naturally from the world's rising energy. They did not reveal a destination, but confirmed that a beyond now existed. Depth, distance, and possibility took shape, marking the world's first sense of direction. Streams of energy condensed at the center, forming a slowly turning sphere. Layers of luminosity unfurled inside it, like a celestial bloom awakening. Gentle warmth radiated outward, soaking into stones and mist. For the first time, the world shaped something stable, a vessel capable of holding immense power. This sphere became the earliest outline of a heart that would one day beat on its own. A vast ring of light pulsed across the ground, lifting particles into a spiraling ascent. At its center, brilliance thickened, sharpening into a core of growing force. Mist folded into the vortex, winding through its luminous layers. The world inhaled for the first time, not with breath, but with motion. What rose from the swirl was more than energy. It was intention shaping the newborn sky. A sudden surge rippled outward, shaking the land as mist burst away in expanding waves. Stones ignited with amber flares, echoing the tremor. It was as though the ground itself released centuries of silence in a single breath. This exhale was not destruction, but release. A signal that the world was no longer dormant. Something deep beneath had awakened, ready to reveal its hidden strength. Two opposing currents of energy split from the central sphere, one bright and warm, the other shadowed and cool. They drifted apart like twin destinies forming their first divergence. The mist shimmered between them, caught in a quiet tension. This was the birth of contrast, the earliest moment when difference emerged. Duality would become the spine of creation, shaping every fracture, every union yet to come. The stones glowed like molten metal, fissures blazing with rising heat. Sparks drifted upward, yet their warmth soothed rather than burned. Light seeped from the earth as if the world confessed a long-buried sorrow. The land trembled gently, releasing its burden into the golden haze. In this lament, creation found strength, an understanding that even pain could be transformed into radiance. From far beneath, a resonant hum rolled upward, deep and ancient, like a titan turning in its sleep. The surface quivered in response, and mist vibrated to the rhythm. This was not a voice, yet it carried meaning. A declaration that the foundations of the world had begun to move. The newborn realm now possessed a pulse, echoing through every rising stone. Golden particles floated in perfect suspension, refusing motion even as power surged around them. Silence sharpened, thick with anticipation. Each glowing ember held a piece of unshaped destiny. Below, stones shimmered with heated brilliance, reflecting the tension gathering overhead. The world stood poised at the brink of transformation, savoring the final moment of calm before the rising force claimed the sky. A towering surge of light erupted upward, silent yet immeasurably strong. Mist spiraled around it, dissolving into radiant dust. The beam stretched toward an unseen height, carving the first true vertical through chaos. For the first time, the world understood ascent, a direction beyond ground and stone. This rising stream was more than power. It was aspiration, reaching for a sky that had not yet been born. A razor-thin beam sliced through the swirling haze, so bright it seemed to sever the air itself. It struck the ground with precision, engraving a shimmering scar across the stone. The world trembled, recognizing a new rule: separation. Boundaries had formed, not from conflict, but from clarity. The blade marked the law that creation would follow, a line defining what is divided may also be shaped. Columns of light ascended from the trembling earth, climbing higher with every pulse. Mist wrapped around them in elegant spirals, drawn toward their growing heat. The pillars stood like ancient guardians newly awoken, their glow declaring the world's determination to rise. Height now existed. Elevation had meaning. Through these luminous towers, creation learned to stretch beyond its foundation, embracing the vastness it was destined to fill. Between the pillars, a faint outline emerged, shifting, unfinished, caught between possibility and decision. Light and mist wove around it, debating its shape with every flicker. The world struggled to define its first true structure, unsure whether it should grow, expand, or collapse. Yet in this tension lived promise, for form is born not from certainty, but from the struggle to become. Shimmering particles gathered in midair, drifting into fragile geometric shapes that flickered between existence and possibility. It pulsed gently, testing their stability as though the world practiced the art of materializing thought. Mist wrapped around the forming structures, cooling their glow. Space itself was attempting definition, learning how to hold shape without collapsing. This delicate crystallization marked the world's first effort to solidify imagination into matter. From the blending of mist and light, stony ground began to rise, hesitant at first, then boldly claiming its place. Edges formed, sharp and ancient, though born only moments ago. Amber reflections danced across its surface, revealing veins of trapped energy within. The plateau was not merely terrain, it was foundation. The world's first declaration that it could create something enduring, a structure meant to support the weight of what would follow. A sweeping arc of golden power carved through the sky, leaving a luminous trail that bent toward the earth. As it descended, it tightened into a radiant ring, slowly contracting with deliberate purpose. Mist spiraled into its orbit, drawn by its gravitational pull. This was the first loop of creation, a symbol of cycles yet to come, proof that energy could move not only outward, but return to its beginning. The shrinking ring collapsed inward, forming a compact spiral suspended above the growing plateau. It rotated steadily, gathering light, mist, and heat into its churning center. With each revolution, the spiral deepened, sharpening into a vortex of evolving force. Somewhere within that spiral, a first outline shimmered, a suggestion of form struggling to emerge from the currents that birthed it. The spiral pulsed like a beating heart, sending waves of light rolling outward in steady rhythm. Each pulse strengthened the land, filling stones with warmth and the mist with golden undertones. For the first time, the world possessed a cadence, a measured thrum echoing through every rising structure. This was no longer inert energy. It was vitality, the first breath of a world awakening into life. High above, vast symbols ignited in the swirling air, glowing with ancient amber radiance. They rotated slowly, as if conversing about the fate of the forming world below. Their light reached the plateau, imprinting faint markings onto the stone. These celestial runes were not language but intention. A blueprint whispered into the fabric of creation, guiding the world toward its next transformation. Massive boulders trembled and shifted, responding to the energy stirring beneath them. Some cracked open, revealing molten light within, while others rose as if remembering a forgotten purpose. The land itself was no longer passive. It participated in creation. Stone awakened not as a creature, but as foundation, forming the bones upon which the future world would grow. Matter was learning to obey the call of rising power. A perfect circle of light hovered just above the ground, rotating with calm, unwavering purpose. Its glow spread evenly across the stones, smoothing their harsh edges. Time seemed to slow around it, trapped in its balance. This was the world's first law, a symbol of cycles, endings, and rebirths that would define everything that followed. The circle did not move with urgency. It moved with inevitability. From the heavens descended a monumental beam, piercing layers of mist as it joined earth and sky. The impact sent ripples of brilliance across the land, illuminating the plateau in golden fire. This vertical axis became the spine of the forming world, a conduit through which power could travel freely. With its arrival, creation gained height, scale, and a direction upward that nothing could now deny. The mist began to expand and contract in a slow, rhythmic sequence, as though the world itself practiced breathing. Each inhalation brightened the land, each exhalation softened the glow. Stones pulsed faintly, harmonizing with the motion. No creature existed yet, but life's pattern had begun. A rhythmic flow signaling that the newborn realm was no longer silent, but alive with rising intent. The sky parted softly, as if pulled aside by unseen hands. Mist rose in towering columns, revealing a glow that did not belong to Earth. Light filtered through the breach, shimmering with celestial depth. For the first time, the world recognized an above, a realm beyond stone and mist. The heavens had awakened, not with thunder, but with quiet, undeniable authority, inviting creation to rise towards something greater. At the sky's center, a silent burst of energy expanded outward, forming a vast sphere of blinding light. Mist was pushed aside in smooth waves, and stones ignited with golden brilliance. There was no sound, no violence. Only a calm, irresistible force claiming space. This explosion marked a turning point. Creation no longer whispered. It declared itself, reshaping the newborn realm with the confidence of rising power. Within the radiant sphere, intricate lines formed, rotating, folding, and locking into patterns resembling an ancient mechanism. They moved with mechanical precision, as though calculating the future. This was the birth of order, the first design capable of measuring change. Time did not yet flow, but its architecture existed, waiting to determine when beginnings end and endings begin. Mist transformed into glittering shards, drifting like slow-moving fragments of light. They spun gently, catching reflections from the sphere above. Each crystalline piece carried a memory of the world's earliest moments. This wind did not scatter. It assembled, guiding fragments into harmony. Beauty emerged for the first time, not as decoration, but as a force shaping how the world would be seen and remembered. A vertical line of pure energy split the land into two balanced halves, one bright and warm, the other dim and cool. The division was flawless, unwavering, as though cut by a cosmic blade. This moment defined duality, light and shadow, motion and stillness, heat and cold. The world learned that unity could be formed through contrast, and that creation required boundaries as much as freedom. A colossal spiral of radiant energy rose into the air, drawing mist and particles into its magnificent ascent. Each rotation grew faster, pulling the world upward with it. Stones vibrated in resonance, echoing the spiral's power. This was the first great ascent, a declaration that creation would not remain bound to the ground. The world had discovered the motion of rising, the path toward the newborn heavens. From beneath the earth emerged towering structures woven entirely from luminous threads. They stretched skyward, forming arches and pillars of impossible design. Mist flowed through them like rivers in a living cathedral. This architecture was not built. It manifested, shaped solely by the will of creation. With it came purpose, the understanding that the world could craft beauty and structure from pure energy. A massive amber sphere hovered above the land, its surface alive with swirling rivers of molten light. It rotated slowly, radiating warmth that reached every stone and shadow below. Mist parted around it in reverence, recognizing the sphere as a source of immense power. This was the world's heart, a core of concentrated creation, holding within it the potential for life, flame, and sky. High above, a colossal mandala of light unfolded, rings within rings, rotating in perfect harmony. Thousands of luminous lines connected sky and earth, weaving a tapestry of cosmic intention. A single beam descended from its center, anchoring the design to the land below. This was the blueprint of existence, the grand pattern that would define mountains, winds, oceans, and every law the world would follow. The mandala shattered into countless golden fragments, raining gently across the horizon. Each spark embedded itself into stone, mist, and earth, urging them into form. Mountains rose, valleys sank, waters gathered. The central sphere ignited into a brilliant sun, illuminating the newborn realm. Creation had completed its long ascent. A world now stood where silence once ruled, alive with light and infinite possibility.